What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Yanks of the Cop. We are here for our Sheffield United pre-match show. As always, the hosts today, Andrew and Steven. Well, homie is off tonight, and we have two very special guests from the Sheffield United perspective. We have Seb from the On the Terrace Pod. You can find him at Terrace Pod. And then we also have Callum, who writes fan reports for BT Sport. Guys, thank you so much for joining us this evening. How are you guys doing?
Just great to be on here. You guys are all right over in the States. Pleased to be on.
Yeah, very, very happy to be here. Yeah, hope you guys are well over the pond.
Doing okay. Not as locked down as you guys are out in the UK. But, other than that, it's pretty cold up here in Boston, so that's really all we got going on. But for everyone tuning in, we appreciate you guys. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't yet. Follow at Terrace Pod if you haven't. Brand new Sheffield United podcast, so go ahead and like and subscribe to him as well. Then check out Callum's reports on BT Sport. But before we dive into everything, I just want to kick it off with our thoughts and condolences to Alison Becker and his family during this tough time. Obviously, his father went missing for a little bit, and they did find his body. He has unfortunately passed away. Cannot even imagine what that must be like for him and his family. So everyone here on the podcast, as well as at Yanks of the Cop, we would just love to send our condolences out to him and his family. And, as the LFC family, as you like to say, we're always behind you, and you never walk alone, as always. But Chris Welch in the chat, appreciate you for joining us. As always so consistent. One of the first guys in here, so we appreciate you. And there's my homie. There he is. What's up, man? We miss you right now. But fellas, let's get right into it. And really where I want to kick it off is just how your season's going so far, because, on the back of your great season last season, did you guys expect this season to kind of unfold as it is? Seb, let's start with you, and I'll kick it over to Callum after.
Well, last season we overachieved massively. We took finishing ninth in the Premier League, a dream come true. I said to the lads I sit with on the Cop, where I said, we're in dreamland. We were unbelievable to watch. We've been unbelievable to watch for the last 4 years, to be fair, even that nitty-gritty League One. But last season, with by far the lowest budget in the Premier League, we overachieved by streets above. And to finish within practically this close to getting in for European football was just a dream come true. My expectations for this season were pretty much the same as they were when we got promoted anyway. If you just said to me, Seb, where do you want to finish at the Premier League after finishing ninth? I said, I'll take 17th on goal difference as long as we stay in the Premier League and don't get embarrassed. That's all I wanted. And I think most of our supporters, probably Callum could delve into that a little bit more than me, thought the same, really, that we're never going to replicate it, not in a million years.
Yeah, I mean, like Seb said, of course, it was unreal what we did last season, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people, the majority of people, were expecting us to be kind of the whipping boys almost, to just go straight back down. And we didn't. We had a real good go of it, and you know what? I thought, we took it into potentially getting into the Europa League up until the penultimate game. So it was brilliant last season, and we spoke before we come on air how last season probably didn't help in terms of expectations for fans this season, and well, it hasn't really. I mean, you look at kind of Twitter and that after games, and you just see some mad comments, and it doesn't help. And again, you are expecting too much. Obviously, you can expect a bit, but to replicate what we did last season, which was like I say again, just an unreal achievement. It's harsh to put the same kind of hopes and aspirations on them again. I mean, I'm a bit like Seb as well. I mean, I would have took 17th both last season and this season. I mean, I'd definitely take 17th now. But,
certainly.
But yeah, it's a tough one to take because there's been a lot of factors which haven't gone our way, which did go our way last season. We were on the end of fine margins. We weren't getting injuries to key players. Again, we mentioned it before, how lockdown and coming back after that, it really affected us because there was no fans to push on for that extra 5-10%, which for the way we play is crucial. Just getting every last drop of kind of motivation out of them, and it's hard to take, but what can you do really?
Well, we can't do anything, but we're a club that relies on that vocal support. Like the Premier League, we're getting 30 to 32,000 every single week, and pretty much 95% of them, even those above the away fans, were season ticket holders. So it's the same consistent fans week in, week out. Whereas when we dropped down into the Championship, and even when we were in League One, we were getting 20,000. Still big for that league. But as Carl says, I was going to bring this up later about, I don't really want to blame injuries or the fans on our poor season, because it's more than that. And I'll go to that a little bit later on.
That's what we're doing.
No, well, we can't, because there's been so many other factors that I, as a fan, have pointed out on several occasions that it's just been. In some games, Chelsea away, Southampton, West Ham, and Fulham, all four will showcase this, but I'll go into that a little bit later. But what our fans do is essentially they're a suction pad of bringing the ball into the net, and there was countless times in the Championship where we were rubbish in games, and we were like, we'll take a point here, and then we just put a whacking ball into the box, and it'd be scruffy, it'd be off someone's toe end, but the cop would go absolutely wild, and we have missed that, but we weren't great right up until beginning of lockdown anyway. We got a dodgy point against Brighton, where Ender Stevens scored a cracking goal, but really before that, after Christmas, we weren't fantastic. It was more before Christmas where we were good. But in regards to this season, it was a little bit of a fluke. And I didn't expect too much from this year. I obviously wanted to stay up. That was the main expectation. It's not going to happen. We're 14 points from safety. Mathematically, if we're going to stay up, we need 36 points. That's not going to happen. If we'd have beaten Fulham and got a point at West Ham, then it might have been.
Never say never.
I'm about 90. I'm about 98.5% resigned. In fact, I've got to be honest. And Chris Wilder came out and said,
"Well, there's a chance."
There is a chance, but Fulham have picked up form. Brighton keep picking up points. Newcastle are up, and they're just too far away now. I think us and West Ham are gone. I think it's that fight now for that last place, and we've just got to go down. We need one more point to not beat the record. As long as we get one more point, that's all that matters now. Because we've been rewriting records all season. Like, we've had 20 league defeats all season. We don't deserve to stay up with 20 league defeats, and no Premier League team has ever done that at this stage of the season. Not even close.
Yeah. Well, I just want to get to the chat real quick. Magical Mo, what's up, man? Long time no see. I mean, I'm the same way. I haven't been on the pod for a little while as well, so it's good to be back. Mahomie's in the chat as well. What's up, man? Good to see you. Chris Welch actually had a question for you guys. He said, do you think Sheffield United can come back if relegated this season? And also, would you keep Wilder as manager if you're relegated to the Championship, especially when Farke at Norwich looks like he's getting them back up? So what are your thoughts on that question from Chris?
I mean, so I know you mentioned, like, again, before we come on, how you didn't think that we'd get promoted, like, come straight back up, and to be fair, you thought we might somewhat struggle. I don't know. I kind of disagree with that, because I mean, again, it's all like if buts and maybes. Like, say we do hang on to our best players, you know. I mean, say if we keep John Egan, say if we keep Jack O'Connell, say if we do somehow keep Sander Berger,
that's it.
Then you've got the foundations for a class Championship side. But again, it's if. And I think what will kind of be a defining factor on how we do next season is how we finish this one. Because if we go out on a whimper this campaign, it'll leave a sour taste in everyone's mouth. We'll be kind of coming into a lot of fans, and I know Chris Wilder will be very disappointed, and you're going into next season kind of on a negative note. Whereas if you do decently, fight quite hard, and just show a bit of, I'm not sure what the right word is, but if you end the season right, kind of thing, even though you're relegated, you end the season right, then it gives you a glimmer of hope going into next season, and just gets that bit of belief back. Because I know, well, I mean, I'm sure, I hope Seb would agree with me in terms of, I like Chris Wilder 100%, and I'm sure a lot of these fans do. And put it this way, there's no one I would back more to get us straight back up into the Premier League than him. So I think we'd do all right. To be fair, I think we'd be in the playoffs. I'd be quite confident of that, at least.
Yeah. The only reason I think we'll struggle is because our transfer policy for this season alone has not been what I expected. I know, speaking especially on a Liverpool pod as well, about Ryan Brewster, and for £23.5 million, we've got a centre forward who has not played that much first team high level experience, done really well in the under 23s for Liverpool, done really well last season at Swansea, getting 11 goals in 22 games. That's brilliant. But we chucked him straight in the fire when bringing him to the Premier League. And it was a little bit of a panic buy in regard to, yes, you've got a buyback clause of over £40 million for later on down the line. If we centre our team next season around Ryan Brewster, as far as I'm concerned, if we get rid of, if Sander Berge is going to leave, I think, but we need, it depends how stubborn we want to be as a football club, because we are known in the past to be stubborn with transfers. If you look when we saw Matt Lowton to Aston Villa, we got pence for him for how good he was at that time, and he's now doing really well up at Burnley.
Yeah.
So if we get near £22 million for Sander, I discussed this with my mate on my pod on Sunday, and it was exactly the same. If we get, say, Villa do come in and say, look, we'll give you 25 million, I'm sure the club will take it. But keeping Jack O'Connell, who's been out the entire season from game 2, and now Jagan's injured, now Chris Basham is injured, they'll be our back three next season if we keep them. So it's about how we do our transfer policy. It's also about the young players that we get in our squad as well. We've had Antoine Hackford, 60 play at Crystal Palace. We've had Frankie Maguire, who's actually from my hometown, be on the bench. We've had Zach Brunt, and we've got loads of good players out on loan as well at various other clubs in England, and one out in Belgium, or 2 out in Belgium. So it depends how we blood them in as well, because I think they'll deserve a chance. Because I think I read something about Daniel Farker at Norwich today, that hasn't he blood 5 young players out of their academy into their team since when they were in the Prem, then back into the Championship. So I do think we'll be there or thereabouts. It just depends on the other teams. It does depend, because you've got teams in there like Stoke and West Brom will come down with us, and they'll be up there as well. And it depends who the third other team is in the Premier League. I don't think we'll finish in the top 2, but I agree with Colin. The top 6 is definitely achievable. And to answer your question about Chris Wilder, the simple answer to that is yes. And if we sack him, I'd be distraught. I'd be absolutely devastated.
In the football club if that happened, massively.
A lot of people
pretty quick, I think.
Yeah, do you know what? He must be the only manager in Premier League history to be sat disastrously far away from safety and his job not being questioned. Any other club would be sat there. Any other club would be sat there, they'd be like over him like a dark cloud. I thought Daniel Farker was going to go last season, to be fair, but he stuck with him. But if look at West Brom, they did get a point at Man City and then Slavan Bilic. I know their football wasn't particularly good, and then appointed Sam Allardyce, who took 1 win in 12. So I don't know, man, Big Sam, but it's about getting the balance right, and Chris Wilder has it spot on. And if you watch him in the media, as much as he's slated, but we love him as a football club, and he's a bit like Billy Sharp. He bleeds red and white, and it's all about the football club. It's us first, and you can see that on a match day.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Wilder is the type of manager I like. See, and Chris Welsh just said it right here. I mean, I like no nonsense at times, and I kind of get that vibe from him. He's all about the business. But going back to your summer transfers, obviously Brewster has been a bit of a disappointment. So on the Brewster front, do you think it's like you said? Do you think it's mostly just lack of Premier League minutes that's affecting that, or do you think it's also kind of the system that you play around him? And then the second half of that question, did you guys do any other business in the summer, and how have those guys been?
No, I'll let you go first.
For Brewster, it's a bit of both in regards to the system we play. There's been countless games this season where Spurs at home was a countless example, a prime example. It was my mate who noticed this before I did, where we've got players on the pitch. We play quite a high press at times where our centre forward will try and push defenders back and let the whole team come up the pitch. Brewster didn't really do that to begin with. Against West Brom, he did it. He did it to quite some good effect. But it depends who he has around him. And our system is very interchangeable, and I think next season he will fit in perfectly fine. In regards to other summer transfer business, we brought a goalkeeper in who I've seen play for other clubs. I don't know if he did, Callum. Did he play in the 5-5 draw against Swindon, West Fodringham? Was that the same keeper when he played at Swindon?
Yeah.
I think he played Swindon when we did 5-5 in the League One playoff semi-final, which is the best game I've ever seen. And then we got our best player, as far as I'm concerned, we've signed is Jayden Bogle. By any stretch of the imagination, in regards to productivity and what he's brought to the table, he's forward thinking as a right wing back. We got him in a pair, so it was him and Max Lowe from Derby County for just over £10 million. And I'd seen Jayden Bogle play for Derby, 20 years old, right wing back, bit of competition for George Baldock. Made his first Premier League appearance at Brighton and scored. I think one of our first away goals of the season. Scored a really, really goal. And he's been excellent for us. He's forward thinking. He's a good tackler. He's a good defender. He's aware. On the disappointing side, I'd like to see more from Brewster, but Oliver Burke, ex-Forest, ex-RB Leipzig, has been very, very good as well. And I've got to top it off with this. We've had him before. We sold him to Bournemouth. We got him back. Aaron Ramsdale, I probably a lot of people will disagree with me on this, but for me, he's my player of the season because there's been 11 back three changes this season. Our back three changed 11 times this season in regards to different partnerships, and it's been difficult. And having Ramsdale there, some world class saves. There was a couple against West Brom in the game, so there are some signings that have been quite effective.
I think going back to Ryan Brewster, and Seb kind of said it already, how he did kind of press and do what our strikers kind of need to do to get in this side at the minute, which is more off the ball stuff. You're not going to get a huge amount of chances how we're playing at the minute. We're not creating that much. And when we are getting the chances, he's got to take them. And to be fair, he's not really had that much opportunity, so you can kind of let him off on that front. But in terms of off the ball and how we've played since we come up to the Premier League, he's kind of not been like Oliver Burke, who does work hard for the team. Whereas I think Rhiann's a bit of a luxury almost. I think you're right. When we do get down to it, I think he will be a great fit, because I think he's also one of them players who is used to playing in a dominant team. Right now, he's not in a dominant team. Right? We can all agree on that.
There have been so many games this season where we've lost by 1-0 margins, like the Manchester City away game just after we played Man United. We were dominated. We had I think there was a point where we were less than 20% of the ball. We worked so hard as a team, and that is us as a football club. We worked so hard, and what we succeeded at last season is that everybody knew exactly what they were doing at the right time. So you knew exactly that we were going to overload each side, and that the midfielders were going to join the attack. And it was, people were saying to us as fans that why is your centre half in your box when you're attacking, not from a corner or a free kick? So that's just how we play. There was one incident this season where a centre half had crossed it from 25 yards out and Chris Basham got it at back post. That was a cross from centre back to centre back. And we still play exactly the same way now when we literally at rock bottom. But as far as I'm concerned, we've tried something this season. It hasn't worked. We have been accused in the past of not having a plan B. That does have a little bit of legs, because we do then change it from a 3 at the back to 4 at the back. And that doesn't really work. But it's down to the players. Chris and Allen, our assistant manager, can only do so much. They can only do so much, and with the amount of substitutions, our squad has been so threadbare this season. We had 6 subs at Crystal Palace. 6, and one of them was 16-year-old. We've got no options. We've got.
There's 24 players in it who we've had injured. I think the only player who's like kind of first team player who's not being injured is Aaron Ramsdale, which I think says it all in terms of that. But
it says it all.
Yeah, going on to like other transfers again, he called it spot on. Jayden Bogle, what just an absolute bargain buy. It's like 20 years old, and he's took like a duck to water to the Premier League. Kind of lucky that we've got him when we have, because he probably will stay with us for a couple of years. Hopefully, anyway, fingers crossed. Aaron Ramsdale, I probably wouldn't say player of the season in my opinion, but I don't think he's been as bad as what a lot of people have been making out. There have been times where you think, oh my days, like what is he doing? But like recently he's really, I think it was since the West Brom game in particular, around that time he just come out of his shell. You could see a bit more confidence, and like that's what you like in a goalkeeper. Well, confidence and arrogance at the same time. When it fits well, it works well. And to be fair, I've just seen Chris put, we agree that Ramsdale is better than Pickford. The other day, where it did in terms of shot stopping and stuff like that, Ramsdale is slightly better than Pickford, so maybe we can agree on that one. But
the chat real quick though, our friend Shane, he asked you guys, what do you guys think of Ampadu?
Absolutely brilliant for me. Anyway, for me, he's been excellent because he's a bit of a utility player for us. Played at centre half, played in centre mid. This is probably the first time I questioned Chris Wilde in his team selection on Saturday against Fulham, because he played Chris Basham in midfield, who looks completely lost at centre mid. We bought him from Blackpool and played in centre mid. We then transferred him to centre half, where he looks at home, because sometimes the ball comes to him and he's a bit like 12-legged Bambi on ice. At times, he doesn't really know what to do with it. He needs that attacking threat from the back. We played as centre mid in Ampadu at centre half, who can play there. But I'd have swapped them round, and eventually they did swap round. And I don't know. I'm not saying it would have been a better game, because we were awful. That first half, we didn't even go into their box once, and having Ampadu there has been excellent. And isn't it? I think I heard not so long ago that this is the most games he's ever had at a club. I know he's been at Exeter, then went to Chelsea, then had been at RB Leipzig, Ollie Burke, and then this is the most amount of games he's played. I think he's been brilliant. I'd love to sign him permanently, but depends what Chelsea want. And will they sell him to us? And will they give him to us? Maybe another loan next season. I'd love to keep him.
I think you'll get another loan next season, or maybe they'll try to keep him in the Premier League. But Callum, what do you think about Ampadu?
I rate his versatility. He can play a number of different positions, which is vital for any team. He's definitely a defender for me.
Me too.
Unless he's in a sitting two, and I've not seen that, so I'm only kind of guessing on that. He's not like a sitting different midfielder on his own. But yeah, I think on the ball you can see the lad's got a lot of ability, and obviously, and Chelsea wouldn't have bought him at such a young age for a decent value for a 17-year-old lad, I think he was. So you can clearly see that the boy's got talent. There's been times where obviously you can see a lack of experience. It's just kind of not fallen right for him, and he's made the wrong decision, that kind of thing. But I suppose for such a young lad, you can kind of forgive him, because you're still learning the game at that age, and especially playing kind of a debut season almost at that level. But I'd put it this way, I wouldn't be against getting him next season. On a loan, probably, because Chelsea will ask for a lot of money for him.
A lot of money,
But I do like Ampadu, but when he's at the back.
Mm-hmm. I'll go with that. I don't mind him in midfield, and I don't mind him at centre half either. But yeah, his versatility is definitely. If we would have had Ampadu season on loan, I don't know. To go on to versatility, there's one player I do want to mention who I've not seen that. Well, we've seen more of him now because he's been forced to. He's Keane Bryan, who's played at left centre half. He's played at left back in previous, and he was on loan at Bolton last year, who got relegated into League Two, so the Tier 4. And he played a game against Sunderland in the Carabao Cup, and we lost 1-0 home. And he was, what is it? Why is he still here? And then he played. I can't remember where his first game was. I think it might have been. Well, he scored at Man United, and he was excellent. So we have got these players that have been on the periphery for such a long time, on the outskirts of the squad through the Championship and even in League One. They've been given a chance, and I think with Bryan and Ampadu, they really have saved his skin in regards to, because losing 3 centre halves in Bashir, Egan, and O'Connell. It's been they were our set back 3 last season, with Henderson behind. The back 5 hardly changed. And just before we do move on, I did want to bring this up in regards to Ramsdale. The biggest problem with what's happened with our supporters base this season is they've compared the two together. Yeah. So we had Henderson for 2 seasons, and the comparisons have just been non-comparable. It was like, well, against Liverpool at home last season, we went toe to toe with you for the entire game, and it was a mistake that won the game, where Henderson dropped it from. It was a great shot from Junior Wijnaldum, but it was the odd mistake. And the 2 different goalkeepers, and as far as I'm concerned, Dean Henderson's made the wrong career move, because he's now sat rotting in Man United's. Well, he's now said he now wants to leave, and well, I don't know the ins and outs, but I'm sure he would have had an opportunity to come back and play for us again, but the agreement could have been there, so that's why Ramsdale in. But our fans just compare, and we do have a very fickle fan base that we lose.
I don't think the price tag helped for Rammers. I don't know what you think on that, but that I think that obviously comes on kind of the board and whoever said we should pay that amount for him. But because to be honest with you, he's not worth £80 million. I don't think so.
No way. It was his wage demands in the beginning for Dean Henderson. He was asking like 800 grand plus, and it was like, as a club, we are never ever going to pay that. We're just not like that. We do have a fair amount of resources. We have a fairly rich owner who now has the full stake in the club, and the club was in turmoil for quite a while. But we're never ever going to pay that. We're too honest for it.
Yeah. So you kind of touched on a back 5. Tell us a little bit more about how we could expect Sheffield to line up in terms of formation, and then also like who your danger men are. And from a Liverpool perspective, who should we be keeping an eye on? Who are the guys who could potentially hurt us in the game this weekend?
Danger men.
Yeah.
Whose turn?
So I won't give. I'll let you give a predicted lineup if you want to. But we'll of course be lining up in a 5-3-2. That's not changed all season, and well, apart from in game, so I don't see it changing for this one.
No, it's not going to change.
And danger men, David McGoldrick. If he plays, I'm a big fan of Didsey. Ollie Burke can stretch and press, which I think a kind of vulnerable Liverpool backline at the minute. I don't know if you two would agree. There's certainly chances to kind of get at that. So again, I think that the threats come from the front too. There's a lot of variations that could be, but I think if Oliver Burke and David McGoldrick get onto the pitch, they'll cause more problems than if they win. I'll say that.
Yeah, my two. Well, I've got 3 really. My 2 danger men actually play in the same position because it depends who plays as and when. So we haven't seen George Baldock play for a fair old while, and George Baldock for me is absolutely brilliant. Lightning going forward, can whip the ball in, and probably was outfield play. He was penned in by Anthony Robinson, but he played actually okay in regards to. In retrospect of it, but he's a really good defender. He's good at going backwards and going forwards, and he's a proper footballer. He loves a challenge. He gets stuck in. I think he's definitely a danger man. If he doesn't play, then Jayden Bogle will, who is pretty much a very similar player, a lot younger, very energetic. He loves being able to stand on the edge of the 18-yard box and just drift inside towards that back post. And with the vulnerable back 2 of Liverpool, I think that would be a very, very big threat. And I completely agree with Callum. It depends who we play up front. If we got, as we call him, speedboat driver Ollie Burke, because at times he runs that fast that the end product is not there, but he will press. I also, my other danger man, to put a bit of pressure on your youthful on Kabak is Ollie McBurney.
Yeah,
I think if he plays shoulders out, gets a bit of brute about him, and ruffles them two up a little bit, he can cause a hell of a lot of problems. A little bit similar to what he did against Man United last season, where he caused them back two. Then Gaxel Twanzebe played, and he just couldn't handle him. He's not quick, not particularly. He has to get speed, but up until he got injured, he won the most aerial flick-ons by a country mile. So we've gone to a system now is we just panic on the ball and we start oofing it. And it depends who plays up front. Against Fulham, it was so ineffective. It may as well just have booted the ball over the end and got into Thames behind the Hammersmith end at Fulham, because you've got Sharp running he's running his arse off. He's not getting anything for it. So yeah, definitely, if Burke plays, he's a big threat. His end product goes a little bit missing at times, but he can do it. But we need to, when we get that opportunity, take it, because we're not going to get many.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I know we're in two completely different parts of the table, but I'm not confident at all in this game right now. And listen, I know you guys have lost 4 out of 5 coming in. You guys actually have more points than Liverpool does since January 1st. I think you guys have more points than we do so far. I mean, let's be honest. Like, we've lost Van Dijk, we've lost Gomez, we've lost Matip, we lost Fabinho, we lost Henderson. We're literally on Kabak, who's played less than a handful of games for us. Phillips, who has very little Premier League experience, and then Davies, who we has brought up from the Championship, who hasn't played a game for us yet. So I completely agree. When I was looking at it, Ollie McBurney was the guy I had circled as this guy could cause a lot of problems for the exact same reason that you said. His ability to win headers and flick on, like if you watched our game against Everton, he was getting bullied all game with that stuff, and I was really surprised by that. But the other thing that really concerns me is just how you guys play and your tactics. Like, having 5 in the back, it has been proven this pretty much ever since we lost to Atletico last year. It has been proven that if you want to beat Liverpool, be patient, sit back, play a low block, and just play the counterattack. That's how you're going to beat us, because we have proven this year, anytime a team plays either 5 in the back or 4 in the back and just sits back on us, we cannot break you down. We cannot get good scoring chances. So, Andrew, I don't know about you, but I know we're playing the team at the very bottom of the Premier League, and we talked about all these things, all these bad records that you guys could break, but I'm not confident in this game right now.
Yeah, I think we're playing right into Sheffield's hands for the most part. The way they're going to line up, they're going to have 10 behind the ball, 11 behind the ball, and they're just going to defend their asses off, which is what they did in the beginning of the season as well. So, they're just going to be looking for that counterattack, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Rhian Brewster score his first Premier League goal on Sunday.
It's written in the stars. I've actually got that written down. I've literally got Rhian Brewster written.
It's going to happen. We all know it's going to happen. But yeah, man. Just the whole season so far, with the amount of injuries that we've had, and now obviously Allison's been having some issues with his father, which is just terrible. So there's just so many negative vibes around this team right now, and I just don't have faith that this weekend's going to be any different for the most part. I would start Phillips in the back with Kabak, and I don't think Fabinho is anywhere close to being back yet. I don't think he was in training recently. I wouldn't throw Jota in the game. I think he still needs some time. So you're sticking with the front three of Mane, Salah, and Firmino, who have just been struggling.
Yeah.
What's
that? That front three is frightening. But when we previewed the Liverpool game from a Sheffield United perspective on Sunday for ours, it was like what we needed to do is what we did with Salah last season was basically, I don't want to injure players, but basically kick him into the West Stand. Basically, make sure he knows he's in a game, because there's been some incidents this season where a gust of wind has taken Merseyside down. When contact does come, and that's just the way the Premier League is, that he will take a tumble, and you probably put a list of 50 Premier League players. But that front three, no matter on form, like Mohamed's still got 26 goals in all competitions this season. 26. And he's not, and your fan base, and I hear the media all the time. Well, Salah's not doing this. Salah's not doing that. He's got 26 goals. I don't think we haven't got 26 goals anywhere near this season.
I think you have 15 goals this season. I just looked it up.
And 7 of them from David McGoldrick. And bearing in mind, when we played Bristol Rovers in the FA Cup, we scored 3 in a game. I actually scored 3 in a game since Burnley and Man United last season. It was a luxury to see us score 1 and actually attack and take the game to you.
Yeah, my point was that we just don't have we're really lacking confidence right now, and I just don't. I think the way that Sheffield United played, it's not going to give us confidence. We're not going to be able to really run with the ball. We're just going to be passing the ball back and forth along the back line and within the midfield. And it's going to be really difficult to get inside that box and put a shot on target. So I just don't – I think it's going to be a game that we've seen very often, very recently. It's just going to be a low block, and it's just going to be a boring game, and maybe Sheffield will hit us on the counter, and then we'll be chasing it for the rest of the match.
The last
Go
ahead.
No, I think, looking at the comments, I think Chris Davis has to start one game surely. I think if he's going to start any game for Liverpool, it'll be this one on Sunday. You've got, my
point with that one, though, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but my point with Davies not starting, I don't think Klopp will start him at all, really. I think Nat Phillips deserves to start. In fact, Nat Phillips has been playing really well at pretty much every game that he's played for the most part. So I just don't think that I don't think Davies will get the start, unfortunately, in this game until someone like Kabak or Phillips makes a massive blunder. I just don't.
With the look you're going on, one of them will probably get injured on the weekends.
It probably will happen. It's a crying shame because watching Liverpool last season was quite a pleasure to watch in regards to just the way it is, and you can see the German philosophy there for Jurgen Klopp. He's just bled throughout it. But all your best players in all your best positions, and you were flying high. And that, no matter what anybody says, like Leeds won the championship through COVID, and Liverpool won it in COVID times, it would have been irrelevant. It would have been completely irrelevant. You were miles clear before even all that happened. But with your injuries, it's just really weird because people think, well, like under Arsene Wenger at Arsenal, they were like saying, well, all the players get injured because his training regime was so rigorous. But this time it's now the opposite way around because they've had no pre-season because of obviously how quick the transition was from the end of last season to get this one underway to then start next season in a reciprocal order. And that's contributed to so many clubs losing players. And Liverpool have just been absolutely annihilated. Like seeing Jordan Henderson go off and having Fabinho and
you guys hinted at it earlier about how Sheffield plays. You guys are very dependent on your fans, right? You said that your fans basically suck the ball into the net oftentimes.
Yeah.
How the same is for Liverpool. I mean, ever since that Atletico Madrid game in the Champions League, that was the last time we really had fans, and that was a fantastic game. No matter what you say, yeah, we did lose, and that was because of Adrian's blunders, but that was an absolutely fantastic game that we deserved to win.
Yeah.
And after that, I don't think I really saw Liverpool play an amazing game ever since then, and I think it's because of a lack of fans. I mean, if you look back to this season, especially the last time we really played very, very well and got an appropriate result was Tottenham at Liverpool when we had fans in the stands. That was really the last time I saw it. It's funny. It's just how Jurgen Klopp's teams play. They really are dependent on that fan atmosphere. And it sounds like Sheffield's very
the two Liverpool games that stand out for me in regards to the fan aspect of it was the Barcelona game where for the Champions League fan, and the Borussia Dortmund game a couple of 2015, and that was I'll always remember that where the city where I live for university, quite close to Liverpool, and it was just absolute euphoria. And imagine being in that stadium, and we had it when we Callum will remember the Nottingham Forest game when Duffy scored that absolute screamer on Easter Monday the year we got promoted, and the Leeds home game the same season. It's exactly the same. It's that euphoria. And all clubs have missed it unless Liverpool and Everton both had that luxury of having 2,000 out of a 50,000-60,000 capacity stadium. Is obviously it's gonna be sparse, but it's still fans in the stadium. And Jurgen Klopp, as far as I'm concerned, is a puppeteer. He loves the crowd. He plays up to it. He loves that attention. And without fans there, who are you going to? You've got 300. You've got 300 journalists and a few cameramen who are showing it on Sky or BT or NBC or whatever.
I think we can all agree that we should just null and void the season. I think that's what it needs to just be. Null and void it.
I'd 100% be down for that one.
You know what? Whatever. Yeah, do it. Why not? I bet Man City will be absolutely fuming, but I don't mind that either. So.
Sure. They don't have much
Well, from the Liverpool perspective, another thing that concerns me about this game is, and you guys said it too, that it seems like Chris Wilder has no plan B. It seems like Klopp also has no plan B, because we continue to play this way of just allowing Robertson and Trent, especially Trent, just whip balls in from not very dangerous positions and not getting any results. And yet, time and time again, we continue to do that. And especially with Sheffield's strength being how physical you are, and then how aerial, like, you guys are very good in the air. So I just don't understand if we go again with having Trent playing 12 to 15 crosses into your back three, into a guy like Firmino, who's completely off form, Mo Salah, who really hasn't been the same physically since his shoulder injury. I just don't see us creating the chances again. We're significantly lacking the creative midfielder spot on our team. We thought that was going to be Thiago, and I think he still can be that guy. But because we've had to allow Fabinho and Henderson to play center back, Thiago's had to play more of the sixth role and not being able to get more forwards in the attack and allowing to have him that freedom to kind of roam and find the pockets of space. So, Andrew, I don't know what you think about that, but I don't know how we're going to be able to create chances against their back five. And then you have Sander Berg as their, in the midfield.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the same thing that we've been facing all season. Because we don't have any confidence in our back line, we don't want to take the necessary risks to score goals up front. And that goes from the players on the pitch to the manager on the sideline. They're just so afraid to take risks and not willing to try something new. I mean, Homie said it in the chat here. He's praying that there's he said he's praying that there's no 4-3-3 on Sunday, but I guarantee you that's what we're going to see. I 100% guarantee you that's what we're going to see. We're going to see a 4-3-3 because Klopp doesn't want to risk leaving the back four vulnerable to a counterattack, and that's why Wijnaldum's going to sit in the six. But yeah, I think the one recipe that could potentially open up the Sheffield defense would be Naby Keita starting. I'm saying it.
Okay, but
I absolutely agree.
So what? He's going to play 45 minutes, then get hurt? Like, what's the deal? Like, we know.
He could only play 45 minutes or 2 to 60 minutes. I completely agree with that. Or come on as a sub, but it might be.
He has had 2 weeks of training now, so hopefully that's been enough, and we have eased him back in. The other big thing, though, too, is the fact that we have Jota has been back in training. Do you think he's somebody that could potentially see the bench in this game, Andrew?
Yeah, I think he sees the bench. But just to go back to Naby real quick, I think in this game, what I would do, and we can get to the lineup in a little bit, but what I would do is I would bench Wijnaldum. I'd give him a rest. I mean, a week's already been a rest for him, but give him a rest. Put Thiago as the 6. I know you guys aren't going to like that, but then put Jones and Keita as the attacking mids. I think that's what could unlock this defense.
I agree. I think Curtis Jones is one of the bigger threats if he does play. From what I've seen this season, he has really stepped up and he's been accelerated into that position. And I don't want to see Naby Keita because I really do rate him as a footballer. Like really do rate him as a not just a brute but a bit of a technical footballer. For me, Thiago really does slow the game down, and it's same as us. And I'm not going to compare Thiago Alcantara from Bayern to Oliver Norwood, but it's sort of that same sort of player that slows the ball, that slows the game down, that really does. And I've seen in the chat that the lad I actually do my pod with, he's basically said, "What do you think of Oliver Norwood?" And it's like, yeah, if Oliver Blues is terrible, and for my friend Ryan, it's completely different. Whereas he completely despises. See what he's good at, but with Liverpool, it's the same. It's who you play in them certain positions to get the best out of the team you've got, because you're missing that. You're missing that solidity at Van Dijk. And when we played you away last season, we ran at Van Dijk and he just put his arm up and off we went. And we had that really good opportunity where Baldock scuffed it in the we're about 2-3 minutes in, and we lost the game 2-0. If we'd have scored, obviously he scored, that game changes, obviously, but he didn't. But I'm still scared of that front three. I don't care if they're in form. I'm still absolutely petrified of them, especially against our fragile back three. Well, our centre three. Bearing in mind, Phil Jagielka, he's 39 in August. He's still fast. He's still quick, and we love him. But to be fair, he marked Marcus Rashford quite well against Man United.
Yeah, he did.
But with all three of them and how intricate you could, if you unlock that door once, I think it could be 2, 3, 4, 5. It depends how we play as a team, but we are better at home than we are away, despite having no fans. Play like we did against Spurs second half in the home game will take you probably to 70 minutes, and then you'll get it. But if we play like we did at West Ham at Fulham, it could be anything.
I mean, just to answer Ryan's question first of all, he's all right, but when you're in a team that is dominating, again, a bit like Brewster, but going back onto, but if I'm being like honest about how he's been the past few games, he's been crap. But
his blind pass, his blind passes. 30 seconds after coming on,
he's awful,
blind
mate.
pass.
But I mean, in terms of, you probably will set up with a 4-3-3, just how we'll set up with a 5-3-2, because it's the system you learn in training. You learn the patterns, you learn the system. It's hard to get away from that. I can understand frustrations as to why you want to change a formation if it's not working, but it's got his success so far. And let's be fair, if things had gone differently, it would probably still be getting you success. I think what won't help you out, which I think would have certainly been a big factor in you creating a lot more chances, is what I think is our biggest weakness, is defending runs from deep against inside forwards such as Mane and Salah. They are so good at just running, like bending a run in between two defenders, getting onto a long ball from such as a Virgil van Dijk. I remember I was there at Anfield. I remember it happening a couple of times. I was there at Bramall Lane. I remember it happening 3 or 4 times, and you're getting time again. That I think that is probably our biggest weakness in terms of when we're at full strength. That is the one thing we can't defend. It's a ball from deep against a run from deep in behind us. But with the quality we've got in the players at the back who would be playing those passes, in terms of Kabak, Phillips, potentially Davis, who knows, is they don't have that same quality in possession as Virgil van Dijk does, as Fabinho does, as when he played there. So, we probably will play with a low block, which won't suit. But when we would come out, that's when that kind of pass would work. And I think the counter attack from, if we do get chances in terms of winning corners or free kicks up high, it will be that pace of transition that Liverpool have, which will kind of create a lot more chances than actually just maintaining possession in and around our third against a low block. Because, I mean, I've got to say, Phil Jagielka, as much as he's holding that, he's a decent organiser. He reads the that kind of suits him. So you'd be playing into his hands, but what doesn't play into his hands is a fast transition from back to front from Liverpool.
Yeah, and that's what Liverpool are best at, that fast transition. Man City are really good at it as well. Another thing we're weak at is defending set pieces. If you watch the West Ham game or anything from the West Ham game, our defending from set pieces this season, it's set pieces in both boxes. Our corners and our free kick delivery. If we get a corner or a free kick, you may as well count it as a goal kick to you. I've not seen us score from a corner. I don't know, Cal, if you can remember the last time.
At home, and I think that's seen it.
And it seems like you guys last year from free kicks.
Yeah, we like one of our best goals in our recent history is a free kick. John Flex against Sheffield Wednesday in 2017. But we just don't. When we get a corner, what happens is, especially depends who takes it, is either it doesn't beat the first man or it gets out on the other side. It's just how it is. And you mentioned earlier, Steve, about the height we have. We have tall players, but we don't know how to use them at times. Defending our own third, we'll head balls away till the cows come home. But our problem is that fast transition, and it's exactly as Carl said. If Mane and Salah are going to run at both, well, I'll say If someone's at Ender Stevens, if he plays, that's a different question. But Mane against Bulldog, Mane will be in for a battle. But if he stops ending them little clever runs, and I think your key player in that front three is Roberto Firmino. And I see this all the time, that because he plays as a defensive forward, his link-up play is some of the best I've witnessed. And I've watched a lot of Roberto Firmino play before he signed for Liverpool, and he did exactly the same at previous clubs of Hoffenheim and in Brazil. So it's how we contain Firmino as well. As much as you say that he's been lacking in form, but if we keep Firmino quiet, then those inside runs can't be played. Because if he doesn't give the ball, Mane or Salah will have to run our defenders, as you said about the 10 men or 11 men behind the ball. We're gonna do literally low block all the way. It's just going to be taking blows. But it depends also on our midfield too and how they play. If we get the good side of John Fleck, who will pick up the ball and take the team 20, 30, 40 yards up the pitch, we'll do okay. But if we had the John Fleck that played against Fulham at 50% after his illness and before he had his vertebra injury, then we can sit back all we want, and you'll break us down eventually. Because as much as I love John Fleck, I adore him. I think he's been absolutely brilliant, but he's been a complete shadow this year due to injury and then this mystery illness that wasn't COVID. And we've got to then transition going forward, because if we just keep hoofing, you're just going to edit out, and it's just going to be a constant cycle of repetitiveness.
Yeah. Well, Chris Welch in this stat, we're going to get to predictions and lineups in a second, but he says he thinks it's going to be Sheffield 0-4 Liverpool. As much as I'm not confident, I feel like our luck of bad form has to end at some point. Sheffield United not the same defensively as last season, but we can wait and see. So just going off that, let's get to our lineups and our predictions. Callum, let's start with you in terms of Sheffield's lineup and what your score prediction is for this game.
So I think we'll have Ramsdale in goal at a back five, right to left, Baldock, Ampadu, Jagielka, Bryan and Stevens, a midfield three of Lundstrom, Norwood and Fleck, and a forward two are probably Ollie McBurney and David McGoldrick. In terms of a score, to be fair, I didn't mention this before, but like Liverpool have got a lot more quality. Like, let's be fair, in terms of what something that can change a game in an instant, Liverpool have that in abundance. We don't really have that. We don't have that kind of one special player who can strike a ball from 30 yards and hit the top corner or beat a few men before curling one past a goalkeeper. So again, it could be a fairly even game, or it could just be a one little instance of quality that wins it. That being said, I think we probably will score due to defensive frailties of yourselves. But I think Liverpool in the end will probably have just a bit too much. So I'll probably go 2 or 3-1 to Liverpool. I'll go 3-1.
I'll go next, and then we'll go Seb.
Yeah, go for it.
Just to mix things.
Go for it. Yeah.
I'm not sure if Alisson's going to play in this game, so I think that we'll probably go with Kelleher if he's fit. I hope it's not Adrian, to be honest. I would go with Trent at right back, Phillips center back with Kabak, Robertson left back. In the midfield, I would give Genie a break. I think he desperately needs one, so I would go with Thiago in there. A lot of people I think would rather see him as the 8, but I would put Thiago in there just because I don't think we'll see too much of a counterattack from Sheffield for the most part. I think we'll have God's amount of possession, maybe more than 70%, and I would put Jones and Keita in there to start, and then the normal front three. So I mean that's kind of how I would start. And if things aren't going well, I would probably bring on Jota in the 65th minute. I'd sub out. I'd probably bring on Shaqiri for Keita in the 60th, and then just kind of go from there. But I'm in a scoreline. Scoreline. I think I'm gonna go 1-0 Liverpool. 1-0. Jota off the bench. All right, Seb.
Okay, so I'm doing the same formation with 5 at the back. So I'm going to go Ramsdale in goal, then from right to left. Mine's slightly different, but Baldock at right wing back, then Ampadu, Jagielka, and Ender Stevens at left centre half with Ben Osborne at left wing back. Then the same middle three, so Norwood, Lundstrom and Fleck. And then I've gone Burke and McBurney just for a little bit of presence. Pacing behind, we can pump balls relative, not into your cop or into the away end, but that Burke can run at Kabak with... I'm hoping that we'll put some kids on the bench. I'd like to see Zach Brunt come on. Depends on what the game is. A 0-0, no. But if we're 2-3-0 down, then hopefully bring someone like Zach Brunt on and maybe Maguire if he's thereabouts. Score prediction. I want to be optimistic. I really do want to be optimistic. I want to say, look, I keep taking the mentality. If we look at our record against the top six, the traditional top six, that it's been okay. Didn't get battered at Man City. You didn't beat us at your place. We beat Man United. I'm going to go 2-1 Liverpool.
This is the best time to play Liverpool.
It is the best time to play Liverpool, but we've played teams this season that were high in. I know Man United's home form wasn't particularly good, but they were rotting at that point. Like, I think if they won that game, they'd have gone top by some comfortably clear, and we took them to their own game. But I'm going to go 2-1 Liverpool, and I think Mr. Speedboat, no driver, Ollie Burke will get us a goal. But I think I think the game will be gone by then. I think it'll be 2-0. It'll be just one of them. But I'm hoping I'll take a point. I'll take it. I'll take it and run a mile with it. But
see, that's what the Man United result does to us. It just gives you a false sense of hope, and you just hang on to it. You just hang on to a thread, just a glimmer. Because what if? That's all it is for a United fan. It's just what if.
Yeah, honestly, that game was just. I still don't know what happened. In all fairness, and I'm still unsure. But it was nice. It was bliss, and we always do play quite well against. We do play, like, if you look at our record, against the top four, bar Leicester. We've done pretty okay. We haven't been battered all season. Well, I say that Chelsea second half and Southampton. They're the only two times this season we've been properly pasted. It might look like against West Ham that we got pasted, but we didn't. They just played it. Must have been 30% because we were awful. We were just awful.
Well, I expected a proper performance from you guys against us. That seems to be the general theme that happens against Liverpool this season. But what do you think?
Well, I'll say this: the one thing I know is going to happen tomorrow is Aaron Ramsdale is going to have a masterclass because he always just have a masterclass against Liverpool this year. So that's number one. But in terms of lineup, I'm going to go with what I think Klopp's going to do, not what I want him to, not what I would do. I'm going to do what I think Klopp's going to do. So I think it's going to be Kelleher in net, and I think back four will be Robertson, Arnold on the wings, and then centrally will be Kabak with Phillips. Midfield three, I think he's going to go Thiago, Gini, and Jones. I would much rather see Keita in there. I just think that, again, they're going to ease him in, and I think that he and Jota are key to Liverpool's push to try to secure top four this year. I think the only way that they do is if both of those guys stay healthy the rest of the year and have big impacts, and I don't think that starting Keita and having him play 60 plus is going to be good for that. And then so that's my midfield three, and then the usual front three. I think it's going to be Mane, Salah, Firmino. But yeah, I would again. I think first half it's going to be it'll be 0-0 going into the second half, and I think the final score will be 1-0 Liverpool, with a crapshoot of a goal happening.
So a reincarnation of last season then.
Exactly.
Because do you know what? If we lose 1-0, I'll take that. Because as far I'm looking further now, I feel towards the Aston Villa and Southampton game. We've got 3 home games in 6 days. But Liverpool, then Villa, and then Southampton. So yeah, this is I hate this term, but a little bit of a free hit. I know Liverpool aren't the best of 4, but like I say, I'll take it in. I even forgot about Diogo Jota. What signing! What a signing for Liverpool!
He's back.
He at Wolves last year he was brilliant, and then he went to Liverpool for a vast amount of money. I'm thinking, what the hell have they done here? Like, can he step up? And he filled that gap nicely when. But I haven't watched Liverpool. Coincidentally, the last full Liverpool game I watched was the Burnley game.
That was a brutal one.
But we've lost to I don't know if we lost to Brexit Burnley as well, where they just played. we shit out. Really,
I'd rather have you guys stay up than Burnley. I hate this.
But do you know what?
Yeah.
They've got a cracking coach, and that's why they're where they are. They've
Sean Dyche.
Sean Dyche, and if he goes to Crystal Palace, which is what's been rumoured, he'll be the backward step, because what he's done with Burnley as a football club is unbelievable. And looking at like maybe Liverpool in the future, and not for Dyche, but looking at what Liverpool could grasp in the future in regards to management, just look north of the border and what Steven Gerrard's doing up there. You've got a casting waiting up there for
pod on that. He won today. Aggregate, he's on like 9-2 or something today in Europe. But,
I think he finished like 8-5 on aggregate for Rangers. So a good end result for them. But Steve, when you were giving kind of your like prediction for this game, and to be fair, I quite like to know what the general thought is from like everyone who's watching us as well as yourselves, is about Liverpool making the top four. Like, are you genuinely worried that you won't be getting a Champions League spot, or do you think you'll be able to pull into it come the end of the season?
Yeah, I mean it's a legitimate concern at this point. Just it's really started since we've played now 3 straight months of terrible football. It's really started in the beginning of December since haven't played well, and it just seems like we're not making any adjustments. And I've said it numerous times on this podcast where I've just been like, I'm just waiting for somebody just to, pull Thanos and just be like, fine, I'll do this myself and put on the Infinity Gauntlet and then just go apeshit. But nobody's done it. And I think that it's at the point now where if it's not Keita or Jota that sparks this team, I am significantly concerned about us making top 4, because I think we're in 6th or 7th right now. We're tied with Everton, who have a game in hand, which if they finish ahead of us, I mean, that's pretty much a trophy for them, number one. But the problem is that now we're now 9 points behind United and Leicester for 2nd and 3rd. So we're really going to now rely on Chelsea, who have a new manager. And anytime you change managers, you seem to always get a little bit of a lift. And it's a lot better with Tuchel. Everton, is still an absolute concern for sure. So it's very uncertain, and we have enough talent to do it, even with all of our injuries. Just the problem is that I've just been waiting for the spark. I've been waiting for something to happen, for somebody just to pick the team up, and nobody's done it. Like I thought Salah would do it. He's scoring, but then he's not really impacting games other than his scoring. Mane's last touch has been very awful. Firmino, his finishing is just like it's non-existent right now. And then Thiago, he can't be the creative force that we want him to be because we need him to play the 6. So I think that's why if Jota and Keita can come back in, I'm feeling really confident. But if they can't kick on like we know that they're capable of, then I think it's a huge concern. And if that happens, if Liverpool doesn't make the Champions League, we rely on that money for our transfers. It's going to be a tough summer for us to make a change and to get back to where we were. But I mean, what do you think on that, Andrew?
I mean, yeah, I think you summed it up perfectly. I mean, I think that Leicester, United, and City are too far ahead of us now for us to catch them. So I think that 4th spot I think it's still up for grabs. I mean, I think that Chelsea and West Ham are definitely going to drop points. I think Everton are definitely going to drop points, but we need to start winning, and it needs to start in this game right here. So just one game at a time.
So we'll see. Good question. I appreciate you asking that. But that pretty much wraps this episode of Yanks the Cap. Everyone in the chat, we appreciate you guys. You guys are on fire as always. If you haven't yet, hit that like and subscribe button. But go ahead, check out Callum's work on BT Sport, and go ahead and follow On the Terrace Pod if you're a Sheffield United fan. I'm sure they're doing great work. They're brand new over there, so go check them out. But
it's not. By the way, if any other clubs, it's Yorkshire football. So we do look at all the county, and I've got basically the whole of the north of England. So yeah,
awesome.
Yeah. Go give them a listen. But Sib and Callum, thanks again, you guys. We really appreciate you guys.
No, cheers for having us on, and all the best for Sunday.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you very much. All the best for Sunday, and I really do hope we sneak 1-0.
Cheers, boys.
All the Reds fans.